There are thousands of ways to make fun of India, but movies are not one of them. This is the highest-rated Indian film, scoring 8.8 on the authoritative site IMDb, surpassing many classical movies. I was completely blown away after watching it. The story begins with the vain wife of the village chief. She drops her earring, bends down to pick it up, and suddenly a snake darts out, scaring her out of her wits. The village chief immediately contacted the snake-catching expert Rajakanu for help. Rajakanu easily caught the snake in the warehouse and even found the earring that had fallen to the ground. The kind-hearted Rajakanu didn't take a single cent for his help. Everyone said that good deeds are rewarded, but this incident ended up bringing a nightmare to Rajakanu. The next day, the village chief's house was robbed, and all the jewelry was stolen. Rajakanu was listed as a suspect by the village chief's wife, simply because he had seen her hand gestures when he caught the snake the day before. A group of police officers immediately came to Rajakanu's house to arrest him. It just so happened that Rajakanu was working as a laborer out of town at the time. The police thought he was on the run out of guilt, so they forcibly took Rajakanu's wife Sanani back to the police station, along with Rajakanu's brother. People of lower caste have no rights there. They violently interrogated them about Rajakanu's whereabouts, showing no mercy. Even after learning Sanani was pregnant, Rajakanu, still at the construction site, was unaware of what happened. When police arrived at the brick factory, Rajakanu had just left, making them more suspicious. He was the culprit. Rajakanu used his wages to buy a gift for his daughter, and as he was heading home, he was suddenly pinned against a wall by two people. When the police arrived, the first thing they did was beat him up. Rajakanu, completely bewildered, was taken to the police station, which was the only reason his wife was released, in order to force them to confess to stealing the jewelry. The police hung them up and tortured them severely, even rubbing chili into their wounds. The next day when his wife came to visit, Rajakanu was already covered in bruises and wounds. His cousin couldn't take it anymore and was about to confess, but Rajakanu disagreed. Wounds would heal in a few days, but the label of thief would follow them for a lifetime. Hearing this, the vicious Blackie gave Rajakanu another brutal beating. That night, Sanani received news that Rajakanu and his cousin had escaped from prison. She didn't believe Rajakanu would do such a thing, so she went to the police station to ask about it, but was turned away. With her pregnant belly, Sanani searched everywhere for her husband's whereabouts, but found nothing. With help from a clan leader, they went to the police station to pressure authorities. Police said Rajakanu and that no one was watching at night. Police found eyewitnesses who saw Rajakanu and his cousin fleeing town. Sanani felt things were not so simple. She was convinced it was a conspiracy by the police. She made a bold decision to file a complaint with the police, demanding their return. As expected, not a single lawyer was willing to help. In India, people of lower castes are scapegoat. Many unsolved cases are pinned on them. In the eyes of most lawyers, this is perfectly normal. No one would risk offending the police for someone from a lower caste. At this moment, an elder recommended a lawyer named Chandru to her. Unlike other lawyers, he often speaks up for the poor, has helped many people of lower caste clear their names, and never charges fees for human rights cases. They found Chandru and told him the whole story from beginning to end. However, after reviewing the police investigation report, Chandru saw that the situation was very unfavorable for them. On the night of the prison break, both the doctor and the pharmacy owner had seen them. The jewelry store owner confirmed that 3 people had come to sell jewelry there. All evidence pointed to them having stolen the jewelry and then gone on the run out of guilt. But Chandru firmly believed Rajakanu was innocent, and these were just the usual tricks used by police. He asked Sanani to submit a human rights protection order to the Supreme Court and reinvestigate this case. This will be a tough battle. The police lawyer used human rights as a pretext, asked the court to withdraw the application. Chandru questioned the authenticity of the police report, asked the witness of the police to be questioned on the spot. The doctor of the clinic and the boss of the drugstore came to the court to testify. Although it seems that the evidence is conclusive, but after Chandru's investigation, he found a loophole in the mint. He asked the supervisor of the investigation report, "How far is the drugstore from the police station?" Faced with the details of the case, the supervisor could not answer. Obviously, the police did not investigate and wrote a conclusion report. It turned out that Chandru investigated the location of the clinic and the drugstore on the spot. One is on the east side of the police station and the other is on the west side. If it is a fugitive, it is impossible to go back and forth between the police station and the police station. Then Chandru took out 2 copies of the investigation record. Different people's investigation notes came from the same person. This proves that the police investigation report has fraud directly overturned the conclusion of the police. It can't hide the fact that the supervisor admitted to fraud. Several witnesses also admitted that it was under the request of the police's lie was exposed in court. This case is not easy to solve. The police began to make small moves at this time. In order to get Singhani out of the case, he took his daughter away in broad daylight. He was just going to chase her, but he was stopped by the boss. In India, in addition to kidnappers and human traffickers, children will be kidnapped. The rest is the police. The 3 police officers who came to the police station to take charge of this case were under surveillance. They hope to use money to get Singhani out of the case if Singhani's whereabouts are unknown. She doesn't just want to get her husband back. The old man was so angry that he did not sign the reconciliation letter and did not let him go. At this time, he received a call from his superior and asked him to release him immediately and send him back by police car. It turned out that after his daughter was kidnapped, Singhani told Chandru about it. Chandru pressed the police through the court. The man had no choice but to release them. Singhani refused to take the police car. He would never give them hope of getting out of the case. The case was open again and the police chief appeared in person. This time the police invited an important witness, that is, the boss of the mill where Lao Biao works. He received a call from Lao Biao. Lao Biao said that they had escaped the police's arrest and had left the city. Helped to tell the family not to worry. Lao Biao worked there for 10 years. He would never hear the wrong voice. Then he said a more shocking news. The boss had already told Singhani about this news. Chandru was completely confused. Singhani had never told him such important information. The situation had suddenly turned around. It turned out to be the advice of the teacher in the village. He deliberately let Singhani hide this phone call. He was afraid that the lawyer would refuse the case after knowing this. This made Chandru very angry. He felt like he had been played. He even suspected that Rajakanu was fleeing for his crime. He tore off the file and no longer accepted the case at this time. The teacher told him that Lao Biao did not even know the number. It was impossible for him to make the call. Under the request of the two, Chandru continued to investigate the case. Chandru withdrew the call record of the mill. Chandru wanted to find the location of Lao Biao's phone call. Finally, he found a phone booth. They went there overnight, but the boss could not remember what happened a month ago. They could only keep looking for clues nearby. At night, Singhani expressed his guilt and thanked Chandru for everything he had done for them. The only valuable thing was the necklace that Rajakana gave him at the wedding. He wanted to give it to Chandru as a revenge. Chandru was born to fight for justice. He never accepted money in such cases. Chandru's efforts moved the boss. He took the initiative to be Rajakana's witness again. The boss was very impressed with the phone call that day because there were only 3 people in the phone booth, and he testified in court. The 3 police officers who were in charge of interrogating Rajakana faced with the fact that Lao Biao admitted the truth. He said that his superiors kept putting pressure on them, but they couldn't find anyone. They could only fake Lao Biao's phone call to the boss of the mill. The police's scandals continued. The evidence was exposed again. The judge agreed to Chandru's request. Let the senior police officer of Prakash to investigate this case. The police station began to persuade Chandru to give up. When Chandru took him to listen to the villagers' reaction, he changed his mind. Most people in this village have experienced false charges. Strict torture made them admit their crimes. Even children can't escape from the police station. Because of their low caste, they have nowhere to go. The police station was deeply shocked by this scene. He decided to investigate this case with Chandru. First, he came to Rajakanu's house for an investigation. Then he came to the police station for interrogation. Obviously, there was no evidence to prove that Rajakanu stole something, but Rajakanu and others disappeared without a trace. They speculated that they might have been arrested by other police stations while arranging Sanjani to look for people in various prisons while checking the information of the police station, but there was no news of San. Finally, they found a clue at a police station in a suburb. A few days ago, there was a traffic accident. The victim was a man. The victim was Rajakanu. After Sanani found out, he was very sad. But what he waited for was a dead body. Chandru, who witnessed all this, was more determined to pursue justice. The 3 police officers in this case finally admitted to the police station. They were eager to solve the case and torture Rajakanu. But Rajakanu didn't admit his crime. In anger, he killed Rajakanu. In order to cover up the crime, they moved Rajakanu's body in a car and they took 2 of his cousins with them. It was forged into a 3-person prison. Then they bribed the doctor and the boss of the drugstore to fake it. Then they threw Rajakanu's body on the side of the road. They made it look like a traffic accident. However, a group of police officers covered them up in court. It was still determined that Rajakanu had a car accident during the escape. The other 2 people fled for their crimes. They asked for a retrial. Chandru exposed the police's lies again. The police said that Rajakanu was in the hospital at 9:50 p.m. He called his superior at about 10 p.m. to report the situation. But after Chandru's investigation, there was only a call record at 9:10 p.m. that night. After that, No more calls were made. Obviously, the police are lying again this time. The hearing will be held again in 10 days. Their previous cases can be easily fooled. But I didn't expect to meet the real Chandru now. It seems that the police will start to be afraid the chief of police wants to make peace with Chandru in private. But I didn't expect Chandru's position to be so firm. I didn't take this case for money. Sir, I want that innocent tribal woman to get justice. If Sanjini gets justice today, someone else will get it tomorrow. If the court doesn't do justice, I'll get out on the street. Only the law is my weapon. That's all. I won't let the one who killed Rajakana go. There's one thing that Chandru doesn't understand. The phone call from the watchman. The boss was sure that the voice wouldn't be heard. Why did the police admit that they hit him? There's only one answer. It was the police who forced him to hit the watchman. Chandru put the search target near the phone booth. The teacher really found the watchman here. At the end of this hearing, the police still wanted to struggle, but they didn't have a chance. The watchman admitted the incident in the prison and forced him to make that phone call in the phone booth. At this time, the forensic doctor also testified in court the cause of Rajakana's death was a broken rib and a pierced heart. It seemed to be caused by someone's kick to the chest, although the car accident would also cause this reason. But he found chili powder in Rajakana's eyes. It's impossible for someone to have chili powder in their eyes and run so far. The police chief is still trying to quibble. The next investigation in Jingdu made them powerless to resist. It turned out that the local police had already caught the culprit who stole the jewelry. That person is of high caste and acts like an old black man. In the end, Rajakana became the scapegoat. They found the wheel mark in the agreement at the scene of the abduction. By comparison, it was left by the local police car and the 3 police officers. The truth was finally revealed. Rajakana cleared his name. The court announced the arrest of the 3 police officers and compensated Sanjini with a piece of land as compensation. This is not the victory of Sanjini alone. It is the victory of the low castle population. The original film was made by the father of the Indian Constitution, Ambedkar, the first Minister of Law in India. Born in a poor family, he devoted his life to abolishing the racial isolation system. Many people say that Indian movies are very daring, but the reality has not changed much. At least this is a kind of fire. The film Jai Bhim is inspired by the life of Justice K. Chandru, a retired judge of the Madras High Court. Known for his fierce commitment to justice and equality, Justice Chandru dedicated his legal career to defending the rights of the underprivileged, especially Dalits and tribal communities. What sets him apart is his personal ethic. He never used a car with a red beacon, refused to have a security guard, and even declined to have a personal assistant. After his retirement, he continued working as a social activist and writer, advocating for constitutional rights and legal reform. The filmmakers consulted Justice Chandru during the production to ensure authenticity, and the character of Chandru in the movie, played by Surya, is a tribute to his tireless legal activism and simplicity in public life.